In 2 weeks, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments on the legality of President Biden's most sweeping vaccine mandates. The rulings will affect 2/3 of the American workforce. ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl is going in depth to explain where each case stands.
These rules are going to keep workers safe, and keep workers safe will help keep businesses open.
The president's vaccine or test mandate on large private employers will get a special hearing by the Supreme Court January 7th. It impacts 84 million American workers. The same day, the Supreme Court will also hear arguments on the vaccine mandate covering 17 million healthcare workers.
This is a very fluid situation.
Attorney Dan Eaton says there's been a lot of confusion about these federal vaccine mandates because courts have paused some and not others. There are actually 4 separate mandates. The mandate requiring 3.5 million federal employees to get vaccinated is still in place. The mandate on federal contractors has been blocked nationwide as that case plays out in court. The vaccine mandate on healthcare workers is blocked or stayed in half of the country. It's paused in 25 states that have filed lawsuits, but it's still effective in 25 others, says UC Hastings law professor Dorit Rice.
Healthcare facilities that want to get their funding have to impose a vaccine mandate. And this is actually a mandate. It's vaccinate or you're fired unless the person gets exemption.
And that brings us to the largest mandate, the vaccinate or get regularly tested requirement for private employers with 100 or more workers. The case centers on the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, and how much power it has to issue emergency temporary standards, something the agency has done just a handful of times.
Just when you're looking at the odds, the fact is that the majority of emergency temporary standards have been struck down by the courts. So all but one, in fact.
In court filings, opponents argue there are limits on OSHA's authority to make rules without public input. They say the mandate should come from Congress instead, since COVID doesn't just affect the workplace.
The argument here challenging this is that, wait a minute, we're not talking about any kind of unique workplace toxin or hazard. We are talking about a public health hazard.
But in a split decision, an appeals court ruled OSHA can make emergency rules to boost workplace safety if employees are in grave danger.
If a global pandemic that's killing about 1,000 people a day in the United States isn't an emergency, it's hard to think what is.
It's not clear when the Supreme Court will issue its ruling after the January 7th hearing, but it will likely be soon. OSHA plans to start enforcing the testing requirements on employers February 9th. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
Even though the federal OSHA mandate is still being decided, attorneys say private businesses can still choose to enforce a vaccine mandate. States like California have their own vaccine mandates, which courts have repeatedly upheld.